Hello, Karen. We are live right now for
Hi.
the Author Live Chat Show again, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much for having
Unfortunately,
me.
yes, I mean, we were supposed to be uh, having this with two other authors a few days ago, but unfortunately, we couldn't make it. All right. So, nevertheless, it's still a pleasure to actually have you today on this show, on Sunday night's show. Thank you so much for joining us. So, um, let's actually talk about your background and also your writing journey.
Okay. Well, I've actually only been writing for a couple of years now. I'm a late bloomer. I didn't write my first book until I was, in my mid 50s, actually. I
Uh-huh.
didn't even realize I had any talent for it. It was just something I used to like to do with my kids. My mother would tell stories and I would tell them stories. We just make them up. I guess I got it from my mother, the talent for storytelling.
Uh-huh.
And one day out of the blue, I just had some free time and I was at the library and I said, I think already is how it started. And the first book
Uh-huh.
was The Dragon Who Got the Fairy Godmother to Like Vegetables. And that was the first book.
Uh-huh.
And I now have 5 books published. I have 2 more about to be released in the next few weeks. Um, so that's about it. I just won my first award for Florence the Dancing Flamingo. It's the Story Monsters Approved Award. So that was exciting. My first award. It's a chapter book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been an exciting journey, not even knowing I could do this. Now all of a sudden I have, 5 books published, 2 more on the way. It's exciting. It's a
Mm-hmm.
legacy to
Right.
leave to my family, my grandkids.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. About the book that you were mentioning earlier about the award that you got, um, tell us
Yes,
a little
it's
bit
this one.
about. Yeah.
You can see the cover. Yeah, Florence the Dancing Flamingo.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. Right. So tell us about how
yeah.
how do you actually how do you come to know about this award and how did you get it? How was the
So there
selection process?
I saw it online. I keep hearing, about different contests online. So I just Googled it, upcoming contest for children's writers, and I saw that one. That one was coming up, the first one that was coming up in 2020. So I applied. They have 2 more coming up this year, which I'm hoping to apply some of my other books to.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other contests out there too. You usually pay a small fee to enter the contest, but there's no
Correct.
guarantee that you're going to win anything. But you have
Correct.
to, put in a small fee. And I just waited. It took maybe a
Mm-hmm.
couple months from the time I put it in to the time I heard that I won the award. So that was exciting when I got the email stating that I was one of the ones that won.
Uh-huh.
So it's just recognition from YouTubers, from uh, professionals in the field. It's nice. It's a nice recognition. Um,
Awesome.
so that's kind of how it happens. You just, I Googled it online. I found one that was coming up, and I applied. I paid the entry fee. I had to send them the book, actual physical book,
Mm-hmm.
and and it goes. I guess they keep the book, and I forget what they do with the books. I don't know if they donate them or what, but they keep the book.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that's about it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of putting in the application. You got to put in the
Right.
application, pay the fee, and then send the book in separate.
Right. Awesome.
So,
So let's talk about COVID-19, and I think almost probably more than 100 countries are right now being affected, and so many countries are imposing the restricted movement order or quarantine and lockdown and whatnot, right? So with that, we have a lot of parents staying at home with the children, and I also see a lot of people trying to use this time to read more books, and so that's how I think that writers or authors can actually leverage this period of time to promote their books. And not just that, I think this is also the
Right.
time where parents can actually inculcate the reading habits among their children. So um, speaking about that, so as a children's book author, what do you think about this? How do you think that parents should encourage their children to read, and how this can be done? Can you, like, speak about that?
Well, I know when my own children were growing up, we'd have, we'd always take the time to read them stories at night or make up the stories. Like I said, my mother and I would make up stories.
Mhm.
And sometimes we would have it where the kids would put in their own part to the story. But they had all their old favorites that they used to like to read, Beatrix Potter, Dr. Seuss, all
Mhm.
kinds of, great stories that they used to love to read.
Uh-huh.
And, it's always, you wish that, now that I'm an author, that my books become a child's favorite going forward. But for me, I've been stuck in the house myself, so I've been doing a lot of writing. I'm almost done with another chapter book I was doing for a young adult. And,
Uh-huh.
but for parents, I think you really need to set aside time to read with your child. They're not going to school. There's a extended period, you could set a time where, maybe you read and your child read, whether it's separate books, depending on the age, or you read together and then you talk about it, ask them comprehension questions. It's a good way to make a learning lesson out of it,
Uh-huh.
whether it's just to see how they're comprehending it, because that's what they would do in school. They would, read the book and then they would ask them questions to see how they're comprehending it. And it helps build that up. And for me, I just love to read a good story with my kids and really just get excited talking about it. The voice, there's nothing like making a child excited to read.
Mhm.
It's once they love to read, it will last for the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
And that's something I always believed in. You teach your child to read, and they will always want to read. You teach them to love books, they will always love books. You can learn anything from a book. Your imagination can soar in so many different directions. And it's something that I've always believed in, and I did with my own kids. Always reading to them. So I think any parent really should encourage that. Especially if you have any child, really, you should encourage them to read on their own or read with them, especially if they're younger or they're playing. The more they read, the better they get at it, and the more self confidence they feel. And it just opens up a whole lot of doors too, and windows for them to ask about things they might wonder about, use their imagination. Um, you know, any book will open up imagination to the child, and it can open up, all kinds of teaching lessons for them. And I don't know, I just love reading. I always loved reading, and I always encourage my kids to read. So it's a good time now that you're home with your kids. They
Mhm.
get on your nerves a while. They really do. They're running around, playing with things, tripping over toys. Everything's everywhere. But when you just sit down and have that quiet time, it's a bonding experience. It's a time to really get close to your child and just read to them, have some fun, laugh about the book, whatever it is. My
Mhm.
books all have some funny areas in it. Uh, it all depends on the book. Just some of them are teaching books. You can read books that teach them things. Some of them are gentle things, talking about sharing or helping people or having courage or believing in yourself. Like
Mhm.
Florence is, a flamingo who believes in, she wants to dance, and she knows the only way she's going to dance is by getting brave and going into town and finding humans she can dance with. So she had to
Mhm.
get courageous. She had to go, and, she faced rejection, and she had, but she faced her fears, and she danced and she became a star.
Mhm.
Um, so it's a way to teach kids to believe in themselves, even, go against ridicule. And if you believe that you can do something, you do it. And there are other books
Mhm.
that teach about states and the world in general. You can read about different countries, all kinds of books out there right now.
Yes.
So really, just let your child choose and just go with it, and it's a great way to bond with your child and help them grow. It keeps them
Right.
calm and settled in one place too. Nice too.
So yeah, coming to that, right? I mean, we know that we have a lot of children's books out there, and there are so many books that are trying to teach, are trying to introduce kids to various values, human values, and so many lessons that the books are trying to teach the children, or probably so many messages that these books are trying to
Yes, no
convey
problem.
to the children,
Right,
to children's out there,
right. I
right?
think a
So
book has to be fun. A book has to be fun. If it's not fun, the child won't enjoy it, and then it
uh-huh,
becomes a chore.
correct.
So that's always something I believe. Like my books, all yeah, I have all different kinds of books. Whether it's the Enchanted Garden, that's a book. That's another chapter book. I have, a book has to be interesting to the child. It has to be entertaining. It can't just be teaching, teaching, teaching. I've seen some books out there that looks like
Mm-hmm.
it would bore me. I can't imagine a child reading. It's um, you know, the best books are the ones that will entertain, that will make them come back time and time again to want to read over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the best books, the classics, the ones that children love to read. I know when I was applying for different publishers, some of them were like, "Oh, we don't take the talking animals. We only want books that teach lessons." It's like, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what children like. It's for younger children.
Right.
They relate to the talking animals. So to say that you don't want talking animals because it doesn't teach a lesson, I'm sorry. My book does teach a lesson. It teaches courage. I mean, kids relate to animals sometimes better than they do to people. And
Correct.
they have the wild imagination, active imagination. So um, that bothered me when I was told, "Oh, we don't take stories with talking animals," because it's not realistic. Well, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about 6-year-olds here, 7-year-olds. It's stop making them grow up before their time. That's part of being a
Right.
kid, using your imagination,
So I
possible
think
things like that.
it's not so
That's the
much
way I always
about.
looked at it.
I think it's not so much about trying to be realistic or not, because I think when you're trying to reach out to small kids, it's no more about things being realistic, because they have to be drawn towards the book. They have to feel that it's something fun about the book, which is the only way that they will
Right, it
pick
has to be
that.
fun.
Correct. Right.
Right,
So
right. And if
yeah.
it's silly, then they're more likely to be drawn to it because they like things that are silly. Unbelievable is more attractive to them than believable. You
Uh-huh.
turn on cartoons on TV, and what is it? All talking animals. It's silly stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
That's what kids like, especially the little
Uh-huh.
ones. You know,
Right.
my books range from small kids like 6 years old up until 10 years old, and now I
Uh-huh.
have a chapter book coming out for to be more like about 13, 14 year olds. So they're going get all different age groups. I have
Mhm. Right.
because all
So,
different. It's fun to do all different age groups. I actually find that more interesting. So I'm not always stuck in one pattern.
correct. Right. So, speaking about that, right? There are some books out there for children's book that is trying to teach children's about sexual education, and subjects that are a
Plays
little bit.
happening I think that's something that schools can do, at the right age, but otherwise that should be done at home. And I mean, it's a good way to bring it about so that if a parent wants to teach it, they can buy the book and it can open up the subject. But I do think those kind of books need to be super. You don't just buy a book like that and hand it to a child and say, "Here you go read it and figure it out." Um,
Mhm.
it's up to the parent, really. I don't think
Mhm.
somebody should, interfere with that kind of stuff. And I feel they're teaching this stuff in school a little too young.
Uh-huh.
Sexual orientation should not be taught in kindergarten. I'm sorry,
Uh-huh.
but that's my own personal opinion. I don't think it belongs there. Kids let kids be kids. Stop trying to tell them that they have to be that. Let them just grow up and be natural.
Mhm.
That's my opinion.
Mhm.
And there may be, 100 parents watching this show right now yelling at me, saying, no, 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 they have a right to choose from the time they're born. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Yes.
I'm an old fashioned girl, I guess. That's not the way I was raised,
Uh-huh.
so
And
the younger
also,
generation
I
looks at
think,
it differently.
when you incorporate heavy subjects into children's book, I think the chances of you to have it funny, have it written in a funny way is very slim because of the subject topic that you're trying to talk about. I think you no longer can actually make it funny or silly or those kind of things because you are trying to talk about
Right,
something
you
that is a bit more serious, right?
right. I mean, it could be like a way for a parent to open the door with the child, but again, these are books that are being written for 6, 7, 8 year olds that has no business really talking about it at that age. At that age, they don't know what they're going to be when they grow up. They don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I don't think at 7 years old you know 100% whether you're going.
Correct.
Kids at that age don't even know what sex is, and they're
Correct.
trying to push this on them that, you should be a boy, not a girl, or, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. I think that's the way you're questioning it, or
Yes.
talking about sex, talking about adult subjects with
Yes.
7 year olds. I'm
Yes.
sorry, 7 year olds should not be talking about adult subjects. And
Mm-hmm.
that's me, I'm old fashioned. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
hear these things, what they're pushing in school, and I'm like, what is that doing in a kindergarten class or a first grade or second grade class? Why do parents allow this? Why are they even like not into fearing? I would have been up at that school screaming, what are you teaching my kid? You
Mm-hmm.
know, all the way up to college, they're teaching things that we never grew up being
Correct.
taught. Teachers should not be influencing kids to
Mm-hmm.
believe what they believe. Books
Mm-hmm.
should not be influencing kids to believe the way the author believes. Kids based on what their parents teach them.
Mm-hmm.
You should be learning these things at home, discussing these things
Right.
with your children. It's a way to bond, it's a way to teach them. Teaching should be done at home with some of these things. You know, um, People's other ideas and should not be influencing your child through
Mm-hmm.
books, through school, through church, whatever. It's we shouldn't be indoctrinating kids to believe in an agenda they're too young to understand.
Uh-huh.
That's my
Right.
opinion. Leave
Right.
it. People can take it or leave it. I don't know. I think
Right.
books should just be fun,
Right.
be
Right.
entertaining. They should be teaching gentle lessons according to the age group, what they can understand at that age.
Right.
Sharing, believing in yourself, having courage, um, you know, uh, or whether it's just a fun book, how somebody, like I have books about a dog I used to have named Milton. It's just a funny story about,
Mm-hmm.
where's my book? This is a story
Mm-hmm.
about he used to go to a bakery
Milton
across the
Visit
street and
Bakery.
special needs. They had special
Mm-hmm.
needs, and one of the girls, was afraid of the dog. And in the end of the book, she gives him a cookie, and it's like, so she's brave, and it's she has Down syndrome. Um, so it's different kind of books depending on, what they all want. Somebody with Down syndrome, a parent may be likely to get a book like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, I've just seen, like the one book, The Dragon Who Got Fairy Godmother to Like Vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's a story about, trying something new. The fairy godmother didn't like vegetables, and then she tried them, and all of a sudden she realized she did like them. They just had to be cooked right, So it's, you know, opening up some doors about maybe trying some new food type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it has to be age appropriate, what they can understand, what they should be understanding,
Mm-hmm.
not grown up ideas, grown up agendas being pushed on little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe there's a lot of people listening who don't agree with me. Maybe there are a lot of people listening who are saying, you are so right. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think at this point of time, I have to agree with you because when you are trying to teach your children about adult subjects. It's more like you trying to indoctrinate their mind, or probably trying to infuse what you think is right, towards them or on them,
That's
and
right.
forcing them to, like, just accept it for what it is. So, and for that
And it
reason, I
confuses
think,
them.
right. So I think,
Mhm.
for this reason, I think, it actually is good. So it's good to let them learn things on their own as they grow up, and as they see things, as they are trying to digest things, and that's when you teach them, at the age where they are starting to understand things. That's when you talk about it, and I think it makes a whole lot of sense, rather than trying to teach things at a very young age where they probably cannot uh,
Right. They can't
distinguish.
process it. They can't. Right. And I think you could actually more problems for child, confuse them, make them think things that they wouldn't normally have thought of, trying things, doing things that maybe they wouldn't think of because you're pushing things on them at an age when they're not ready to hear it, and it confuses them. I don't know, I don't
Correct.
understand. And, in a way, well, the publishing industry is getting harder and harder to break into, so there's more independent authors out there, which is fine. I have no problem with it. But then there are also a lot of books being published that maybe shouldn't be published because they're not being checked, they're not being read through. And a publisher
Mhm.
might say this is totally inappropriate for a child, but if somebody's doing it on their own, who's going to stop them? Um,
Yeah.
so that's one of the problems with the publishing industry being so overwhelmed. It's very hard to break into the publishing industry.
Mhm.
It's they really the tried and true authors, and a few new ones every year. I was lucky
Mhm.
to break into my publisher, Bob Scott Publishing, because he's a small publisher, is just starting out himself, who prefers to take on new authors. So he's
Mhm.
been walking me through the whole step of publishing, which is nice. Yeah, he
Mhm.
doesn't have the big name recognition. He doesn't have the big bank account to push things, but I'm learning a lot from him. I get my books out quickly.
Mhm.
So hopefully, name recognition comes in time, and
Mhm.
the books will be successful. Um,
Right.
but I think that's a big problem with the publishing industry nowadays is,
Yeah.
they're overwhelmed with the amount of books they get, and too
Correct.
many books are falling through the cracks, just getting thrown on shelves without anybody actually looking
Checking
at them and see
them.
if they're even
Yeah.
appropriate.
Exactly. Right. And also talking about the current period of COVID-19, and being locked down. How is the situation right now at your place? And have you actually promoted your books at the local stores, or what kind of promotions are you also looking at, and where people can actually get your book? Those who are watching this right now.
Well, the best place to get my book is probably on Amazon. It's offered on both Kindle and regular, hardcover books, and
Mhm.
most online bookstores. I haven't really worked too hard at getting them in bookstores yet. Again, it's something that my publisher's looking to. Certain bookstores want barcodes and stuff that we need to work on. Uh, Looking to get them in bookstores. I was supposed to do an author's fair next month, but it ended up getting canceled because of COVID-19. Everybody's basically just locked down in their house, which is why I've been doing so much writing lately. It's been nice to write, but I
Mm-hmm.
need to get out, and actually start making a living again because I do work outside of just writing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right.
and So the best place to get it is on Amazon. You could Google my name, Karen Magnan, or the name of the books. I gave you a couple of names of my books, and they're on Lulu, they're on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. Those are the best places to get them. And,
And also,
like I said, I have
mystories1.com. That's your website,
my
right?
stories one. Yeah, that's the website, www.mystories1.com. And I'm on Facebook again under My Stories. So both ways, it's my stories. Just the website is My Stories One, and that
Mm-hmm.
tells a bit about my history. It shows all my books, what they're about. Uh,
Uh-huh.
the website also, I have a couple of blog posts. One is the child who reads. It's sort of what I said about getting a child to read, why it's so good to get a child to read, and how it's so important. You know, it's one of the blogs that I wrote, and another one is just my story about how I started writing,
Mm-hmm.
and a bit about me and my books.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then it's
Right.
just pictures of my books and Milton that is the basis for two of my books, and another one coming up. The third book of Milton is coming out soon.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
Right.
second dragon book is coming out too. That one is where Rosie the Pink Dragon meets Abby and Maddie, the fairy godmother's uh, granddaughters.
Uh-huh.
And that one starts to get really funny. That one gets very funny because they're learning magic and they're turning each other into animals, and they fall into a chocolate fountain, and it's just all kinds of crazy fun in that book. Because, like I said, I like to make the book funny, but it's also teaching that you have to follow instructions, listen to what being told.
Mm-hmm.
They were told don't do this, don't do that, and they did everything they weren't supposed to do. So it's gentle lessons for the age group, that type of thing. That
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
that's kind of what I
So,
like to do.
coming to the part where you reach out to parents, because I think parents are the ones who have the say in buying books for the children. So, how you actually reach out to parents or the uh,
You know,
young parents?
well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've only been doing this. I had my first book published
Mm-hmm.
about a year ago. It's actually only been a year since my first book was published. So I haven't
Mm-hmm.
actually been a published author for very long. So I'm learning this as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
I promote my books a lot on Facebook. I try different things on Amazon with the algorithms, trying to
Uh-huh.
move them
Yeah.
around a bit
Mm-hmm.
so I can get more easily seen by people. That's one thing I was told to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to understand
Right.
the whole marketing
So.
aspect of it. And my publisher, of course,
Uh-huh.
does some things on his
Right.
own end. That's a whole mystery to me is how do you get your books recognized? And now everybody shops online, especially now with the COVID-19. People
Correct.
aren't going into bookstores; they're doing it
Yes.
online. And if you go on Amazon, there
Yes.
there has to be millions of children's books out there. So how do you
Correct.
narrow it down? You have to do it by age, you have to do it by what the book is about, and it makes it very difficult to get your book recognized on a site like that. Whereas in a bookstore, you
Exactly. I
just
think.
walk around and you see the
Yeah.
picture jump out at you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole
Right.
different
So I
ballgame
think.
now, online shopping.
Yeah. I think this is the part where branding comes into the picture, because when you brand yourself as an author and you try to distinguish yourself from the others, people will know more about you, because let's just say Starbucks. We all know that Starbucks, they are different because they offer, you can have your names written on the plastic container of the drink, and that's something, people will take picture and they just post it on Facebook and things like that. So um, there are different aspects of a business. When you're writing a book, you are also a business, and I think we are not any different from the other businesses out there. So I think it's all about how we brand ourselves, so that um, people notice us, people remember us for what we do. So yeah, so in I mean, of course, Amazon has a lot of books out there, and trying to play with the algorithm, or trying to um, stand out in terms of the search result, top page of the search result is one thing. That is one thing that we can do. But apart from that, is about driving traffic to Amazon, and how many people actually visit
Right.
your page, right? So that's more about it, I think. So that's more about creating your own tribe. And a lot of authors right now, they do have newsletters, right? They provide the option for their readers to subscribe to their newsletters. So that's how you actually connect with your audience. And when you have new books, you can actually get in touch with them and let them know that your new book is coming out. So that's something that
Mm-hmm.
many of them are trying to do right now. So probably that's also talk to us about your publisher a bit. What is he doing right now in terms of marketing, and what is it that have been done so far?
Well, he gets them into I kind of wish he was online so he could ask him yourself. But I know with him, like I said, he was the one who signed me up for the book fair, authors
Mm-hmm.
fair. Um, but unfortunately it was canceled. So there's that. We could do authors fair, trying to get into bookstores for book signings. That's something I have to try to do now that I have 5 books. I really want to start doing that, but again, now that this virus is going around, everything's kind of on hold.
Mm-hmm.
The first year, it's really just been getting used to the whole publishing business and trying to understand marketing. He gets them in different online stores. He pushes, through whatever websites he's on. He has his own websites. He has Facebook page. He has other ones that he pushes. So I really, you know, he has his own links. I'm not sure exactly
Mm-hmm.
what he.
Awesome.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I really
Right.
don't know exactly what he does. But I
Right.
know he pushes it. Like he got the author fair going. He signs me up for this. He recommends this. Um, for him being a small publisher again, me just starting out. We don't have a
I
big
think
bank account to really do a lot of these big things too.
Yeah, but I think the part where you mentioned about the book signing is really good, because I think that's where you get to meet local people, and that's how you can
Right.
tap into the local market. So that's something good, and I think that's already going in the right direction. Um, you you can possibly reach out to the markets beyond where you live. If local people do
School
not know you,
system.
then I think it's a bit difficult, because you have to like push your marketing from where you are, and then you grow from there. You're trying to reach out to a market where you are not familiar with, and I think that will be a bit more difficult. So book signings are definitely one of the place where you can meet and greet the local people, and of course
Right.
parents will come into contact with you. So that's something really good. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and then
obviously. Mhm.
also
Yeah.
doing readings in libraries, offering to do readings in schools, donating your books. I have books that I've donated to the libraries I've read at.
Uh-huh.
So that's one way. Some libraries that even let you do book signings there. So that's another area.
Uh-huh.
You can read the book and then actually offer to do the book signing there if they let you. Sometimes they do.
Uh-huh.
So that's an avenue, trying to reach out to different school systems, the local school systems, trying to get in to read the book there. Lots of times they have guest readers come in for the students, especially the younger kids. So that's another avenue to look into. Again, this virus kind of stopped all of that. As I was just getting ready to do all this, everything kind of stopped. I was
Uh-huh.
just starting to reach out to different
Yeah.
school systems and doing things like that, and the authors fair. Last year I was
Uh-huh.
my whole last year was basically on hold because my father got cancer and my
Uh-huh.
mother had COPD. So I was actually taking care of them almost the whole of last year.
Uh-huh.
So my books came out in April, the first 2 books, and then after that, the other 3 after that. But my whole last year was basically on hold. I
Uh-huh.
was taking care of both of them. My mother passed away in June. My father passed away in August. So it
Uh-huh.
was a rough year for me, and then grieving. So basically, my whole life was on hold last year.
Uh-huh.
And I just came back to Florida in November, late November. I got back just before Thanksgiving.
Uh-huh.
And so now I'm just trying to get back in the groove of things again. So my books
Correct.
came out, and I was trying to do things at home. But in the meantime, I was taking care of my dad full time, and mom was sick. So it was a rough year last year.
Correct.
2019, I am glad is over. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm just actually starting to look to see what I can do now that I'm, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I have a life
Yeah.
back again, you know.
Right. And
So
yeah, and
that's kind of
unfortunately, I
and
think
the virus
right
hit,
now,
so right, right,
yes,
and then the virus hit. I understand how to do things. The virus hit, and I was like, everything kind of ground to a
correct.
halt. So I couldn't go to the schools. The libraries are now closed. It's all right.
Yeah.
So now what do I do? Wait till September.
Yes.
Maybe it's all
Yes.
better
I
by
think
then.
it's really bad right now. We all of us, I think, it's pandemic, and all of us are getting the impact of it. Trying to, we are feeling the impact of it, and while we stay at home, I think all of us are. So many of us are trying to do different things, and reading is one of the things that many people I see, they're trying to read more books right now, and they're trying to pick up books that they love to read. And so this is where I think it's good for authors. I think people will come to appreciate reading more. I think so. Let's just hope that more people pick up books, and more people make it a habit to read books, and make it a part of their lifestyle. So with that, I think we will
On their family's lifestyle.
exactly, and we have to start that young. So, children's books are definitely one of the genres that would impact kids and how they view reading, right? And how they view reading when they grow up. So, that's something very crucial. So, I think children's book authors are doing they have a very huge responsibility in terms of trying to impact young children's mind, trying to make them want to read more books. So that's something really huge. I mean, we are overlooking, the importance of children's book, but really, I think it's more towards um, how a young kid can be so excited seeing a book, and how he or she can remember the story, when they grow up, even after they've grown up, even after they have their own kids. I think they can still remember the books they read, when they were young. So I think
Right.
these are the deep impact that children's book can actually bring about to people. So I think that's how important children's book are, and how important the kind of work that you are doing personally. So thank you so much for joining us actually for today's show. I think we've come to the end of the show right now, and I have actually put the your website's address at the bottom of the screen, and I hope people can actually see it. It's actually www.mystoriesone.com, and that's where people can learn more about you, and hopefully check out your book on Amazon. So thank you so much for joining, Karen. This video will be available
Thank
for
you.
as soon as we end this broadcast. The video is going to be available for replay on Facebook. I will also put it up on different social media and send you the link later on. Thank you so much for joining us for today's show, and stay safe throughout the COVID-19 period, and hopefully we will get through this quickly and safely, obviously.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Thank you so much. You stay healthy and safe too. Have a good
Thank you.
night.
Thank you. Good night. Thank
Okay.
you so
Bye.
much. Bye
Good
bye.
night.
Bye.
Bye.